Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here, the Three Topics Gaming here to shift, one of my weekly Q&As titled The People's Questions, where I answer a series of questions that have been sent to me over the past week. For this particular episode, we actually got a solid amount of questions this time around. I believe we had 5 of them. Some of them were actually pretty good, and some were actually kind of personal, so I really appreciate that. And someone actually added a little trick in order to kind of increase their odds of having their question answered in the video, which I'll be sure to discuss. So, like always, if you guys happen to enjoy this little Q&A of mine, make sure you subscribe and like this video to help grow and increase the performance of the channel. And as you can also see, heck, I got a brand new phone case with my brand new phone. I actually have my first PlayStation Hearten case. Normally, I'm sticking with just NES controller, so I'm actually pretty happy to show this off one day. So, starting off with the first question of the episode. Of all these amazing questions and from all these amazing people, the first question comes from Tim. I swear I'm never going to get used to that. Just Tim. I mean, I got all these great names and just something so simple. It's kind of weird to me. But, Tim, you want to know, do you prefer the live-action Resident Evil movies or the 3D animated ones? I think in terms of numeric count, I think I prefer the animated ones a little bit more, but I will say I didn't mind the first. Well, I didn't mind. I actually liked the first Resident Evil movie. Past that point, they definitely started going downhill. So when you have like one good live action film and most of the animated movies I think were better, then yeah, I would definitely prefer to go with the live action animated ones. And that allows you to bring in the voice actors from the actual game, so it feels like they have a stronger connection to the games than the live action film ever did. So yeah, that's why I would definitely prefer the animated movies. Next question comes from Ellen Degenerate. And you want to know, what is one thing you never did when you were younger and wish you did, but now it's too late to do? Now we're getting real personal. I wish I had had more time to try to form a stronger relationship with my father. I unfortunately didn't have a it was not a loving relationship. That much was very, very clear. Maybe there was blame on both sides. I mean, I knew about his relationship with his father, and he didn't have a very strong relationship with his father. So maybe in a sense that, unfortunately trickled down to me because he at times he seemed like he wasn't interested. He wasn't a bad man, and I definitely to this day have the most amount of respect because of what he was able to achieve over the course of his life. And for him to be able to deal with a kid like me and not just disown me like other fathers did. I mean, he rose up to the occasion. I mean, some people become fathers, they tend to pick up their bags and leave, and he didn't, even though things were tough. And I was amazed with all the issues that were going on in the background, he was able to hide us from all that. It's just in the last years of his life, there was this barrier that for whatever reason I couldn't get through to him, and maybe because I put up my own barriers, he really couldn't get through to me, and so we just didn't have a relationship. I mean, I even said in the video the day he died, I don't think I ever told my father. I mean, my father, as far as I can remember, never once told me that he loved me. And the feeling was mutual. I can't remember the last time I ever told him I loved him. I think there was a mutual respect man to man, but I cannot say me and him had a really strong father and son relationship. And if I live long enough to have a son of my own, that's definitely one thing I'm not going to make that mistake twice. I'm going to make sure my son knows me, or even knows who I was when I was younger, and we could actually definitely form a strong father-son relationship. But I can't do that now because he's no longer, he's been gone for like 5 years now. So yeah, I do regret that, but that is something that did happen. Or I wish I could have done, but I can't do it anymore. Next question comes from the Batman of Neo Gotham, and this one's real serious. You want to know, have I heard of the recent sexual abuse and workplace misconduct claim against Ubisoft? If so, do you think that is enough, or for you to lose your trust in the company and no longer support them? That's a tough one. I mean, it is unfortunate. I think it is upsetting that stuff happens. But I think stuff like that happens in almost every workplace. You just don't hear it as often. And I don't believe that it was a lot of people. I mean, I don't know the details. I did hear the story, but I didn't read too into it. It sucks that this happens, but I don't think we should blame everybody. I don't think everybody in there was responsible for this. Now, if it was like an epidemic and it was happening like every day and like these women just didn't say anything or people weren't talking, I mean, it's weird that this would be coming out now since the Me Too movement has been going for so many years. You would think that there would be like a flood of that across multiple different industries. So the fact that this is coming out now, I do find is a little bit stranging of the timing. But I do think it is unfortunate. But I think moving forward, if Ubisoft makes a great game that I'm interested in, I'm gonna go get it. I mean, I'm a game reviewer. I like playing good games. I mean, even if they come from terrible people. I mean, if terrible people make good, awesome movies, I mean, I think I can separate the creator from the creation. But that's just me. I know that some people won't support Ubisoft moving forward, and I perfectly understand. But just for me, I think I'm better at separating that. If it is undeniably a good final product, but only if so. Next question comes from Night at Slayer 666, and you want to know, what Final Fantasy game would I like to be made into an anime and why? I would go with the first Final Fantasy game, and I think the reason why is because I don't think enough people know too much about the first Final Fantasy game, and I think it would be nice to go back to the origins of the franchise and give it a little bit more exposure. And it's probably fair to say that most people who are Final Fantasy fans never even played the very first Final Fantasy game, so I think making an anime surrounded around that game would do a lot of good. So that's why that's the one I would pick. And the last question of the episode comes from Cinevik, and he wanted to know, do I think that younger generation of gamers would care for a Metal Gear Solid remake, or do you think the series is too meta or bizarre for them to grasp, especially since many believe story-driven games are dying off, which is a load of bullshit? Yeah, you're right, Cinevik. It is a load of bullshit that story games are dying off. I don't believe that at all. I've been a story-driven gamer since I was 7, and I'm going to continue to be a story-driven gamer to the day I die. I will absolutely value story-driven games over multiplayer games forever. But a Final Fantasy VII remake. People have been talking about a remake for so many years. I put it this way. I don't think Metal Gear Solid is a big enough series that it would draw in newer fans or make them accept, or at least this way. I think a Metal Gear Solid remake would probably dumb down the story so that newer or younger gamers could probably try to get invested in the story. Now, if you tried to release a direct remake of the original telling of the Metal Gear Solid story, I think it would be a bit too much, because even that game, there's so much backstory you need to know. I mean, when you get into characters like Big Boss and Frank Yeager, and like all these characters have extended backstories. In fact, most people that even played Metal Gear Solid when that first came out had never even played the first Metal 2 games, and so they were lost on some of these characters. And I think that is an issue with making a strictly Metal Gear Solid remake, is that there's already so much backstory you need to know going in. Now, you don't need to necessarily know it to understand the story being told at first, but there's just key elements that the game doesn't get into. So I think that if they were to do that, they would have to seriously strip out a lot of things in order to make that game a lot more focused. But by doing that, it kind of would make its story less impactful to older fans like me. So while if they want to remake the game in order to make it more appealing to younger gamers, I think that might backfire, because I just don't think the franchise is big enough to draw in that kind of crowd. But if they want to give it a shot, go ahead. But yeah, it would be a challenge to pull that off, especially since Hideo Kojima, as far as I know, will not be involved. So that's what I think. So that'll do it for this episode of People's Questions. I want to thank everybody that sent in your questions that I was able to answer in this video, as well as the comment section of the last video. If you guys have any more questions you'd like me to answer in next week's episode, be sure to type them in the comments down below, but make sure you get them into me roughly before next Thursday, before noon, before I start filming the next video. And again, if you want to increase your odds of having the question being answered in the video instead of the comments, just have to be interesting or be a little bit more personal, and that'll definitely guarantee your chances. And like always, I want to thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you next time.